everyone. Welcome to the Veterinary Business Podcast, your ultimate resource for developing a successful veterinary practice and career. I'm Dr. Amanda Landis-Hanna, one of the co-hosts of the Veterinary Business Podcast. On this podcast, we bring you insights and expertise from industry-leading doctors, experts, and thought leaders. We cover a wide range of topics, including practice management, marketing, finance, leadership, HR, law, and today, AI. Whether you're practicing veterinarian, a practice owner, practice manager, or student studying to be a veterinarian, this podcast is tailored to help you navigate the unique challenges and opportunities in the business of veterinary medicine. Every listener of this podcast is welcome to visit www.veterinarybusinessinstitute.com for additional resources and tools to support your growth. You can also subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, YouTube Music, Spotify, and other popular podcast platforms. Joining us today is Kevin Cohen, a visionary technologist and the co-founder of VetRec. With years of experience at industry giants like Microsoft and Circle, Kevin has developed an impressive track record of innovation and leadership. His unique blend of technical expertise and entrepreneurial spirit is driving transformative changes in veterinary practices, making workflows more efficient and allowing veterinarians to focus on what truly matters, caring for their patients. I'm eager to hear more about Kevin's journey, the inspiration behind VetRec, and his vision for the future of veterinary medicine. Today, we'll be talking about advancements in AI in veterinary medicine. All right, let's dive in. Kevin, it's such a pleasure to have you here today. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Dr. Amanda, thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely. So we're going to kick off right away. Tell me a little bit about how you got into AI. You know, our listeners are largely veterinarians and veterinary business individuals. So AI can be something that seems a little foreign to us from an experience and expertise perspective. Tell us a little bit about how you got into it.
Yeah, of course. So I am a software engineer by trade, and I spent, I think, about 8 years in Microsoft. And when I first got introduced to the concept of AI, back then we were doing machine learning, which is, a subset of AI, if you will, where we had to, work with massive amounts of data, what we call big data. And I worked for, a specific team in the Microsoft 365 division, building these AI and data platforms for millions and millions and millions of people. So, that's the scale that Microsoft operates. And it's when I first got introduced to all of these concepts about big data, machine learning, AI, before, quote unquote, it was cool. Everyone now knows about ChatGPT and all of the generative AI models that are coming out there. But, when I first got introduced to this during Microsoft, there wasn't ChatGPT, right? There wasn't even GPT-3, which is one of these AI models. So there's a lot of foundation that I got to learn from Microsoft, and we're happily applying it now on our day to day.
Excellent. Give me a couple of definitions because, again, I am a veterinarian. Talk to me a little bit about things like machine learning, large language models. What the heck are these things? And do they actually have any application for a person like me in practice?
Oh, my goodness. I could spend an hour just explaining these concepts.
Just the little versions. Let
me do a little versions of this. So large language models is basically what powers ChatGPT today, and it's this concept of AI, mainly driven by generative AI, where the model, the artificial intelligence model, is generating data. That's why it's called generative AI. And the large language models, the way it works is there's basically large amounts of data that these AI models were trained on.
Right.
And the whole point of these models is to predict what is the next word, if you will, that is going to get outputted based on the previous word. And so all it does, though it does it pretty well, is given some sort of instruction, it's going to go and generate data that is getting fed on from whatever it already generated before. And of course, there's research papers and a lot of work that goes into how this works. But the reason why it has become so popular, this generative AI and this chat GPT, is because it has a very if you will, human flow or human nature aspect of it, where you feel that you're talking to someone, right? Or you feel that the output that this model gave you is actually something that, for example, a human would be able to tell you, because it's pretty well done, because it was trained on large amounts of data.
Right.
And to your point about how somebody like a veterinary professional, or in general people are using this, is well, of course, and we'll talk more about VetRec and how we're doing this, but it is essentially assisting with, let's say, mundane work where you would not want to type a lot of things, or you would not want to generate a series of reports that you otherwise could tell this artificial intelligence model to do for you based on some context, for example, or based on some previous information that it had already. So I don't know if that answered a little bit that question, Dr. Amanda, but yeah, like this is a phenomenal field, and I could spend 3 hours just explaining how machine learning works and large language models work.
Maybe we'll save that for a second podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to ask, is this how my phone can identify what the next word that I'm texting is?
So no.
And then do autocorrect and get it wrong every time? Are we even in this range, or am I thinking of something else?
No, that's funny. So the reality here, Dr. Amanda, is that the autocorrect and the getting the next word is not necessarily really being powered by these advanced large language models like GPT-3, 4, etc. In fact, it's funny that you mentioned this, because I actually used to work in Microsoft in the team that provided the infrastructure for the data scientists that used to create these features and these models like Smart Compose and Smart Reply. So in Microsoft, if you open up your Outlook or your Teams, there's these features called Smart Reply that will, like you're saying, auto-populate what that next word is. And it does feed it off from like previous context, but it is nowhere as advanced as, for example, these GPT-4 models, where just with an instruction, they can give you 7 paragraphs of generated content. This is the thing that you're talking about. It's mainly with a couple of hints of previous information, which I understand why you asked this, because it's very similar to what I was explaining before. But it's like very much scoped, if you will, and it's not necessarily being used. It's not necessarily using generative AI like the new ChatGPT models and whatnot. It's some of them might be just classical machine learning models, and it's not as advanced, I would say, as the new things that we're seeing today, where large amounts of video, audio, text are being generated from these models.
Excellent. So I will continue to blame the autocorrect gods whenever I don't make sense, which happens at least 3 times a day. So let's pivot from here and talk a little bit about veterinary medicine. How did you go from doing this incredible work that, again, I'm kind of getting my head wrapped around a little bit, to veterinary medicine? What was that transition like? What drove you to veterinary medicine?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Dr. Amanda. And the reality is the following, and then I'll be transparent with you. So me and my co-founder, we decided to leave Microsoft 1.5 years ago and embark on the entrepreneurial journey, right? And so we got accepted into the prestigious Y Combinator Accelerator. It was a very, very humbling moment for us, but we didn't really start with, veterinary medicine. We actually were doing other AI applications, but mainly tailored towards developers. We were actually selling platforms to developers. So
Okay.
we're really into the AI space, but we didn't do any vertical applications, if you will. And after some time, as all founders, I think, go through, we realized that that solution was not the best, and we were sort of getting tunneled into something that was not really working. And that's when we started to look outside. And I had a conversation with my co-founder, and I told him, look, I have 2 dogs. I don't know, like I've had them for some years now already. I have friends and families that are technicians and veterinarians. I don't know, like we never really explored this option. What if we do? And we sort of put that idea a little bit into rest while we were testing out other ideas. But it was at that particular time, and you could call it serendipity, or I don't know what you want to call it, where I took my puppy back then, Jimmy, who is now 1-year-old, to one of his first vet visits. And I saw it firsthand, maybe before I hadn't realized it. And now that I was in the startup mode, I was realizing more things. Right. But I realized firsthand how the veterinarian was not really paying too much attention to Jimmy and not really paying too much attention to me, but rather on the notes. And I didn't blame them, like, of course, I was a little bit frustrated with the experience. I was like, well, like my puppy's here and I'm asking some questions, and yes, you are responding, but not the way I would want, like you might be responding, but looking at the computer. And it created this, disjointed experience between the humans and the pet right there. And, when I left that room, I called my co-founder and I was like, hey, David, I don't know, like I had this experience and I think it was pretty bad. Why don't we actually go a little bit deeper into this space and start asking some of our friends and families that are technicians and veterinarians whether this is a problem? And I'm sure you'll agree, Dr. Amanda, but then we started asking, and over a course of like 2 weeks, almost everyone said the same thing. Yeah, that was not the veterinarian's fault. It's because they need to complete medical records. And they need to get home on time, but they can't. And so they're frustrated. And so now the mental health is a thing. And so there was a lot of things a lot of problems that stemmed out just from the fact that, veterinarians have an obligation to create these medical records, but there's a lot of mundane work around it. And, they get burnt out, and they, or worse, might not pay too much attention to the patient and not providing the best patient care. And that's when we said, I think with our experience with AI, we could build something here. And to be also honest with you, we were not the first ones, right? There were other companies sort of tackling this, some that have already tried and didn't work, some that were already working. But we said, the space is big enough, if you will, and the other people there are also starting up, if you will. I think with our experience with AI and some of the connections that we have, we could possibly make something here work. And we did. But that's how it all started, really, just with that mindset of trying to see where we can innovate and the serendipity, if you will, that I had my 2 dogs, and I took Jimmy to one of the appointments and I saw it firsthand.
I see. So it sounds like some of the motivation here is really aimed at helping veterinarians give as much energy towards patient care as, unfortunately, we're legally required to do with medical records. I know personally my frustration, sometimes I get so tied up in medical records that I wish that I had more time, say, for instance, to have high quality client communication, or, potentially I have these medical records and I'm then able to share pieces of it through client education with the clients, the owners, the pet parents, sometimes also the dog's grandparents or the dog's pet walker, whatever that may be, or the cat's the cat sitter. And it sounds like some of this is driven by a motivation to help veterinarians, veterinary teams, even veterinary managers to streamline their work that they are legally required to do and kind of get them back to their passion, which is taking care of patients on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and I think you put it in a very, very nicely and succinct way. I think
Thank you.
I think one of the things that we realized here is that this concept, this idea, this company, and the other companies that are also doing this, we realize that it's not just about helping the clinic be more efficient. It's not just about helping the veterinarian be more efficient. Like you see tons of startups in other industries as well, where, hey, you'll be saving more time to do your Excel report for this. Okay, great. But the uniqueness of the veterinary medicine that we see here is that there's almost like a triple whammy, if you will. And this is what we like to, talk internally in our team. First of all, of course, you help the veterinary clinic as a whole be more efficient. They maybe can see more patients, and everyone's running on a more streamlined operation. Great. The veterinarian now is happier because they don't need to do these medical records and they can leave. I mean, they still need to do the medical records. Of course, they need to review them, but they don't need to spend 2 hours at the end of the day doing this. So they get home on time. They can spend time with their kids, with their family. And so you now have an immediate value add to the happiness, to the mental health of the practitioner, while also helping the clinic as a whole. And probably one of the most important ones is elevating patient care, which we deeply believe on. I was telling you, moments ago that I took Jimmy there, and, the veterinarian, of course, did the right thing to Jimmy. Jimmy is a healthy pup. It's all great. But if we can help in that moment to make sure that the veterinary professional spends way more time looking and talking and sweet talking to my pup, then that bond gets so much better, and you're actually elevating the quality of medicine and patient care as a whole.
That's really awesome. You mentioned there's other players in the space, and there's other players sort of along the lines of other verticals. What makes VetRec specifically unique?
Yeah, I get that question. I get that question a lot. And before I answer that, it's actually something funny that is happening these days. Is when we started VetRec, November 2023 or December 2023, we had to convince the veterinarian a lot to even try it, to even explain what an AI scribe is, what AI is. Like, we had to do a lot of selling the product as a whole, the concept as a whole. And a year later, we're not doing that anymore. The conversations that we're having right now is, how are you different? Or what else can you do? Oh, that's great. What else? What's on your roadmap? How are you going to tackle this? And we're like, oh my goodness, like 1 year ago, you didn't know what AI was. And now you're asking 1, 2, 3, which I love.
Right. We always want the next best thing. Like, what's coming up? How do I prep for that? Because now I'm on board with what you're doing now. What's in the future?
Exactly. And so it's pretty humbling to see the growth, not only for VetRec, but like for the veterinary medicine industry as a whole, where a lot of people are now more familiarized with this technology. And, there's a lot of thought leaders and people that put blogs out, and companies like ours that are innovating in the space. So it's actually overall a great thing for the industry that a lot of people are learning about this technology. Now, to answer your point, of course, there's quite a few things that make VetRec unique. And I'm not going to turn this into a sales pitch, but I would say that, there's two particularly things, or maybe three particularly things that we really nailed on from the very early beginning. The first is that we deeply believe that this is an engineering-led company. This is a product-led company where, we have some of the brightest minds when it comes from an engineering point of view, people that worked at Google, people that worked at Microsoft, that really know the space and really can innovate way faster. Similarly to that, we also partner with a lot of veterinarians from the very early stages to give us advice. So we have also a veterinarian advisory board, if you will, that constantly help shape the product a little bit more rather than, just what some of the engineers might think without, any concept of what would the clients want, essentially.
Right. I live in that same space with my startup too. Is like, it has to be by veterinarians in order to make sense to veterinarians.
Exactly. And so that's why, so our veterinarian advisors, I can't thank them enough because they've not only advocated, but they've helped shape the product as well. But moving on some technical things, there's two main things that we really spend a lot of time on at the very early stages, which was templating and integrations. So we knew from the very beginning that having a powerful AI is great, but it's not going to be as good if you cannot blend yourself into the workflow of that veterinarian. The workflow is really the most important thing. If you give them an AI that generates the record, but then they need to spend 25 minutes fixing that record, then what did you do? You basically did not help them at all. Or if they need to do a lot of copy pasting, which, by the way, fully transparent, like we sort of still have that to some other, practice management softwares. But if you have to do a lot of this manual work to get that record into the actual PIMS, then again, you're not helping with that workflow. And so what we said from the beginning was, let's make sure that we have fully customizable templates, and let's try to be as integrated as we can with a lot of these PIMS. And as you probably know, that's not an easy task because a lot of these PIMS don't want to have these integrations open. But there's some PIMS that are pretty open to it, like Instinct and Vetspire and others that we've sort of worked hand in hand with those companies and try to create this intuitive workflow, if you will, where people that use Vetrec and those PIMS can actually be even more efficient. And from the templates point of view, super important, because I'm sure you know that if you were to ask a veterinarian, two veterinarians in a room about a particular case, and write a medical record for that case, chances are the two veterinarians would have different medical records. Even though the information might be the same or the overall conclusion might be the same, the way that medical record is written is completely different. And that's what we said from the very beginning. We have to be the best at making sure that it's fully customizable to ensure that any specialty veterinarian any specialist can come in, ERs, exotics, GPs that have particularly, specific needs that they want to have on their records. So making sure that the workflow is integrated and it's as customizable as we can to the user, were the top priorities and continue to be in Vetrec. And I think it's one of the things that separates us the most.
Excellent. Tell me a little bit about the testing process. How did you get veterinarians to start to try it out, and has it been challenged in any way? Yeah,
well, to the point that I was making before, it was 100% challenged last year. Like 100%, Dr. Amanda. I had to, I knocked on doors. I'm not doing this too much, but I knocked on so many doors in Seattle when we first started this. And most of the answers were, I don't need this. I don't need this. What's this for? What's this for? Funny enough, a lot of the doors that we knocked on in Seattle are now paying customers. But it took them a while. And it understandably enough, because, you probably know this better than me, but this industry for the past years has not always been the most, let me try the latest innovation in technology advancements the first time. It's probably going to get tried by human medicine. It's probably get tried by these other people. And then we're probably going to adopt it. And I don't know too much about the technology side of things, but I might adopt it. What we're seeing with this AI shift is that of course happened, but at a much, much rapid pace where, yes, people had some reservations, but as soon as they tried it, they were hooked. And one of the things that is unique, not only for Vetrec, but to some of our competitors as well, and then people innovating in this, is that for the particularly product line of the AI scribe, of the medical record, it's so easy to get started. It is so easy to try it out and see for yourself. You're not trying to sell a PIMS. You're not trying to sell this whole diagnostic thing that has to probably be approved by 10 people before you try it out. You literally open up your phone, record, and see it for yourself after your first case in 5 minutes. Like, it is so easy. The barrier is so easy to get started. And I think it's one of the main factors for how and why this product, Vetrec and others, has been, so adopted so fast. So.
Absolutely. You're talking about giving someone sort of that chance to see it or even to try it. Yep. Do you have examples, or are there visuals, say, for instance, on your website where you can see somebody using it, or even are there opportunities for somebody to try it, say, for instance, at a conference to, kind of try it out and see if it actually works for them individually? Like you said, you can have two veterinarians seeing the same case and have very different records. How do I know that it's going to work for me? And then how is it going to work for my associate?
100%. Yeah. So I think one of the main things that we realized is that we have to give a free trial, if you will, right? Like no strings attached, no questions asked. Go ahead and try it. We believe so much in the product that we know you're going to get hooked. Even when, like a little bit of humble brag to Vetrec, but even when they tell us, I'm testing a couple of other ones in Vetrec, I want to try it. Can you give me a free trial, an extended one for 1 more week or whatever? Most of the times we say yes, and we tell them the same thing. It's like, go ahead, try whoever you want to try. We know that you're going to come back to us. We know that we're the best because of, X, Y, and Z, some of the things that I mentioned. And I don't want to prevent you from trying it, and I don't want you to pay us if you don't feel that this is going to help you. And we give a 2-week free trial, but honestly, Dr. Amanda, we have a lot of people that after the first 3-4 days, they tell us, "Hey, I just want to pay now." And I'm like, no, but you still have 10 more days. No, I'm already hooked. I want to pay now. I'm like, oh, okay, sure. Here's the link. Please pay. But it's like, we want to make sure that there's no friction in trying it out. And to your point, there's some assets to our website. There's a lot of YouTube videos that we've put up as well over the past months and year, including one of our veterinarian advisors. Shout out to Dr. Mark Massaro. He's been actually creating a couple of videos for us that explain end to end about the product and how a veterinarian would use it. So it's a different angle, and there's a lot of this tutorials, if you will, that if you wanted to try it, you can quickly get started. But honestly, Dr. Amanda, as long as we have that free trial, it's so easy to get started. It's so intuitive that people just get hooked later.
That's amazing. Tell me a little bit, because I know you mentioned it, veterinarians, now that they're into it, what's next on the horizon? I mean, are we going to see the same sorts of things that we're hearing about in human medicine? Are we parallel pathing? Are we, kind of diverging from each other? Because obviously veterinary medicine is far superior to human medicine, if I may say so myself. What can we expect in the horizon?
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I think I'll start by saying, and I'll send you this so that you can maybe share it with the audience. There was a recent article that I shared in LinkedIn about AI scribes in the human medicine side of things, not the veterinary medicine side of things. And there were some bold predictions there, something along the lines of by the end of 2025, 30% of all human medicine practitioners will be using a technology like this. That is huge. Like that is a lot of practitioners. And there's already strides in advancements in the human medicine side of things. But I think I don't have authority to say this because I haven't been 20 years in the veterinary medicine space, but I keep hearing how always veterinary medicine was lagging, right, from human medicine. And for all intents and purposes, on the years that I have been here, I've only been seeing more advancements in veterinary medicine. And, whether it's because of regulations or, less bureaucracy or whatever you want to call it, I mean, there's a lot of advancements into adopting this technology way faster than I'm seeing in the human medicine side of things. And it's poised to actually go and create even more innovation, more competition from all of these companies that are popping up that are not even only like AI scribes. You see companies like Radimal, for example, who's helping do radiology with AI, and SignalPet, and all of these companies that have existed, of course, a couple of years ago, but now are shifting a little bit towards this generative AI phase as well. And I think that the future and the horizon is super bright in terms of VetMed innovating at a faster pace, and also have those types of bold predictions about 20-25% of the veterinary clinics in the United States, you could say, by the end of 2025 should already be adopting some of this technology. And for us, without spilling too much the beans, because we want to make sure that there's some surprise element to this, we couple of things that we've done is make sure that we transition from that AI scribe angle as well. So we always helped with the medical records, but slowly we've incorporated some stuff into the product to help with other product lines, if you will, that help pass that AI scribe into more of the AI assistants and AI agents that can do things for you. And so that's where I think we're going, where you can incorporate stuff like intake forms and integrations with, for example, the voice over IP systems. And so further ways that you can help streamline that efficiency, but also in a way that it's not particularly only tailored towards that AI scribe and medical record piece.
Okay.
Specifically. So, yeah.
That sounds really interesting. And I love the idea around, veterinary medicine kind of switching and becoming more on the leading edge. With my startup and my product, we're actually starting in the veterinary medicine space, and we're going to be parallel pathing this bioinformatics and these biomedical advancements into the human space next. So as a veterinarian, I really love the idea that with veterinary medicine, we have that opportunity to really kind of get not only ahead of the curve, but kind of get the newest and the cutting edge first. Do you feel like that's something that we may see in other products moving forward?
I 100% think so. I 100% think so. If you look at what's been happening, I mean, of course, anything can happen, right? But predictions is a risky game. But if you just see about what's been happening and the rate of adoption, like I was telling you, and the type of innovations that is coming into this field, like it's only going to get better. It's only going to transcend that leap into further advancements into this field. And I mean, it's just anecdotally with the data that we've seen over the past years. And so I 100% think so, Dr. Amanda. And it's one of the things that excites me the most in terms of, you created this product, you created this AI scribe, great. How can you further innovate on top of it? And does the industry even allow you to, in terms of, is there more space and more room to grow? And the answer is, 100% yes.
That's
100%.
Amazing. I'm so grateful for my time with you today, Kevin. Thank you so much for joining me, for joining us and talking with us about all these different advancements in AI in veterinary medicine. I know my listeners as well, we all appreciate it very much. I also want to take a moment to thank our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you. We cannot do what we do without you. If you like our podcast, kindly share it with your colleagues and friends on social media. Also, please don't forget to leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your reviews will help other doctors and practice owners find us. Until next time, keep striving for excellence and making a positive impact in the lives of your patients and pet parents. Really quick, Kevin, can you tell me where your website is so I can go and check this out for myself and try out that free trial?
Of course. You just need to go to vetrec.io and you'll find all of the information that you may be looking for there.
Excellent. Will we see you at any conferences in 2025?
Yeah, we've been going to a lot of them in 2025, and the most pressing one is VMX and WVC. So we'll be there in case you or any of your listeners is going to be there. So stop by our booth. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we know that you'll be at more than that. We certainly wish you the greatest success, and we wish you and all of our listeners an amazing week ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.